Have you ever wondered how the military operations of the 20th century have shaped the world we live in today? Well, buckle up because we're about to embark on a journey that will shed light on some of the most influential military operations of the past 100 years and how they've molded the geopolitical landscape of our modern world. The 20th century, often referred to as the century of warfare, was a time of immense change and upheaval. It was a period marked by 2 world wars, numerous regional conflicts, and the onset of the nuclear age. Each of these events, in their own way, have had profound effects on the course of human history. Let's take a moment to consider some of the most significant operations of this era. We'll start with the 2 world wars, cataclysmic conflicts that spanned the globe and led to the loss of millions of lives. The strategies, tactics, and technologies developed during these wars set the stage for the evolution of modern warfare. Next, we have the Cold War, a period of tense rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. This era saw a shift in military operations with indirect conflicts, proxy wars, and the looming threat of nuclear annihilation becoming the new norm. And let's not forget the various regional conflicts and operations that took place throughout the century. From the Korean War to the Gulf War, these operations have shaped regional politics and continue to have repercussions today. In essence, the military operations of the 20th century have left an indelible mark on the world. They've defined borders, influenced politics, shaped societies, and altered the course of history. But how exactly did these operations unfold? What were the strategies employed, the tactics used, and the technologies developed? And most importantly, what were their lasting impacts? So as we embark on this exploration of the past, prepare to delve into a world of strategy, intrigue, and power. A world that, despite its tumultuous nature, has shaped the one we live in today. Let's delve into the timeline and see how these operations unfolded. The dawn of the 20th century brought with it one of the deadliest conflicts in human history, World War I. This war had a profound impact on the world, reshaping geopolitics and leaving an indelible mark on human consciousness. It was a time of unprecedented military innovation and strategy, as old world tactics met new world technology on the battlefield. One of the key military operations during this war was the Battle of the Somme. This was one of the largest battles on the Western Front, involving more than 1 million men. It was intended to hasten a victory for the Allies. However, it turned into one of the bloodiest engagements of the war, with over 300,000 lives lost on both sides. The Battle of the Somme was a sobering illustration of the futility and human cost of trench warfare, a grim hallmark of World War I. Now let's turn our attention to the Battle of Verdun. This was the longest single battle of the war, lasting for almost 10 months. Its aim was to bleed France white, as stated by the German Chief of General Staff Erich von Falkenhayn. The French, however, demonstrated an unyielding spirit of resistance. With the famous rallying cry, "They shall not pass," they managed to hold their ground. The battle ended in a tactical victory for the French, but at an enormous cost, with hundreds of thousands of casualties on both sides. These battles, among others, marked a turning point in military strategy. The sheer scale of destruction and loss of life led to a re-evaluation of traditional warfare methods, ushering in a new era of mechanized warfare and strategic planning. World War I was a tragic yet transformative period in military history. It highlighted the importance of strategy, innovation, and resilience in the face of adversity. The lessons learned from this war continue to shape military operations to this day. The end of World War I set the stage for even more dramatic military operations in the decades to come. The mid-20th century was marked by another global conflict, World War II, a war of unprecedented scale and devastation. The war brought some of the most influential military operations to the forefront, shaping the outcome of the war and the geopolitical landscape that followed. One such operation was the Operation Barbarossa, launched by Nazi Germany against the Soviet Union in 1941. It was the largest military operation in human history in terms of manpower and area covered. Its failure marked a significant turning point in the war, with the Soviet Union going on the offensive and pushing the German forces back. Then came the Normandy invasion, known as D-Day. On June 6, 1944, the Allies initiated one of the largest amphibious military assaults in history. This operation opened up a new front, against the Axis powers in Europe, and was a decisive victory that paved the way for the end of the war on the European front. The bravery, strategy, and sacrifice displayed during the Normandy invasion are remembered even today. Across the globe, on the Pacific front, the Battle of Midway unfolded. In June 1942, US forces thwarted an attack by the Japanese Navy near the Midway Atoll, turning the tide in the Pacific War. The victory at Midway, a pivotal moment in the Pacific theater, marked the beginning of the end for the Japanese Empire. Each of these military operations had a profound impact on the course of World War II. The failure of Operation Barbarossa weakened the Nazis' Eastern Front. The success of the Normandy invasion opened a Western front against the Axis powers, and the victory at Midway put the Allies on an offensive in the Pacific. These turning points shaped not only the outcome of the war, but also the geopolitical landscape that emerged from the ashes of World War II. Although World War II ended in 1945, the world continued to be a stage for significant military operations. With the onset of the Cold War, military operations took a turn towards the covert and the psychological. A profound shift from the open battlefields of World War II, this era ushered in a new era of warfare characterized by unseen enemies, clandestine operations, and psychological warfare. One of the most notable operations during this time was the Bay of Pigs invasion. A failed military invasion of Cuba in 1961, it was designed to overthrow Fidel Castro's socialist government. Sponsored by the United States Central Intelligence Agency, the operation was a covert action, utilizing Cuban exiles as the main force. However, the operation ended in failure, leading to international embarrassment for the United States. The Bay of Pigs invasion demonstrated the complexities and risks associated with covert operations and the potential for global ramifications. Moving on to the Vietnam War, we see another example of how warfare had evolved. Unlike previous conflicts, the Vietnam War was not characterized by large-scale, decisive battles. Instead, it was a protracted conflict marked by guerrilla warfare, jungle ambushes, and the extensive use of chemical weapons like Agent Orange. This war also saw the widespread use of psychological warfare, with both sides leveraging propaganda to influence public opinion and demoralize the enemy. The Vietnam War was not just a military conflict, but a battle of ideologies. It reflected the tension between the communist bloc and the Western democracies, and the lengths each side would go to prevent the other from gaining a foothold. The human cost was devastating, with millions of lives lost and the landscape of Vietnam forever scarred. These operations, among others, epitomize the changing nature of warfare in the Cold War era, where the battlefield extended beyond physical confrontations to ideological battles, covert actions, and psychological operations. They also underscore the way military operations were increasingly intertwined with international politics and public perception. The end of the Cold War did not mean an end to impactful military operations. As we move into the final scenes, we'll explore how military operations have continued to evolve and shape our world in the modern era. As we moved towards the end of the century, military operations continued to shape world events. The final decades of the 20th century were marked by a series of conflicts that further evolved the nature of warfare and had lasting impacts on the global stage. Let's take a trip back to the early 90s to Operation Desert Storm, the first major conflict following the Cold War. The operation was a display of the effectiveness of coalition warfare, with 35 nations unified under a common cause. It was a testament to the power of international cooperation as they successfully liberated Kuwait from Iraqi occupation. This operation was also notable for its use of advanced technology. Precision-guided munitions, stealth aircraft, and real-time satellite communications played a significant role, a far cry from the trench warfare of the early 20th century. The world watched as the face of warfare was transformed, becoming more digital and less human. Moving forward to the mid-90s, the NATO intervention in Bosnia marked a turning point in international relations. This was not just about territorial disputes. It was a humanitarian mission to end the brutal ethnic cleansing occurring in the region. The operation highlighted the increased role of international organizations in maintaining global peace and security. This intervention also brought home the complexity of modern warfare, where the lines between combatants and civilians are blurred. It underscored that military operations are no longer just about winning battles, but also about winning hearts and minds, about ensuring safety and stability for those caught in the crossfire. The operations of Desert Storm and the NATO intervention in Bosnia are but two examples of how military operations in the late 20th century have shaped the world we live in. They have shown how warfare has evolved from large-scale battles to strategic interventions, and how international cooperation can triumph over aggression. As we have seen, the military operations of the 20th century have profoundly shaped our world and continue to influence it today. So, what do these operations tell us about the 20th century and our world today? Looking back, each operation we've discussed, from the trenches of World War I to the global conflicts and the dawn of a new kind of warfare, has left an indelible mark on history. They've shaped nations, rewritten borders, and defined generations. They've also shown us the devastating power of war and the resilience of the human spirit. The overarching themes that we can draw from these operations are the constant evolution of warfare and the indomitable will of humanity to survive and adapt. The 20th century in particular saw a dramatic shift in warfare, from hand-to-hand combat to mechanized warfare, and then to information and cyber warfare. As we reflect on these operations and their impacts, we gain a deeper understanding of the world we live in and the forces that shape it.